Prise bien, si prise pour c'est moi. Prise bien, si prise pour amis moi. Si où quitte-t-elle diriger la vie ou grâce les vaillants si prise pour. God has a surprise for you. God has a surprise for you. Just let God lead and you follow. I guarantee God has a surprise for you. I heard a gunshot.
The same Jesus whose sermons help me remember that I'm worth love and justice is the same Jesus who, with his final breaths, with his last words, gave up on the notion that he was worth love and justice. The clock had run out, and Jesus was a man who knew he was going to die. And he gave up. Only a man who had surrendered himself to the idea that sermons were simply not going to be enough to turn goons into saints. Only that man would fast forward through confession and repentance and justice and accountability to waste expensive words on the absolution of his killers. Only a man who had accepted his fate would use his last little bit of energy to make sure somebody else could die with a clear conscience. Jesus had lost so much blood and he couldn't breathe, and that must be why, for a few moments, he lost his whole mind. Because only a defeated fool would trade on the ground justice in the here and now for the by and by higher ground of forgiveness. Only a defeated fool would believe that ignorance is some kind of moral justification for murder. Jesus, how could you do this? How could you give up on your demand for freedom? How could you betray your own self as you hung there, dying a death you didn't deserve? How could you then pass your foolishness on to me? Because sometimes I sure feel like a fool following Jesus. Only a fool would lay her healing hands on wrinkled white church ladies who tenderly fix dinner for their racist husbands and sons and grandsons every Sunday afternoon after worship. Only a fool would believe that she was the one who would face hellfire and brimstone if she wasn't gracious to the nation that bankrolls her terror. And another thing, Jesus, didn't you know that forgiving your enemies wouldn't stop them from destroying you? Didn't you know that forgiveness ain't never turned a monster into a man or a witch into a woman, a clan into a congregation? How could you betray we, the crucified ones, Jesus? Didn't you know we would be forced to live and work and play and worship with people who dream of our death? Didn't you know what they would do to us if we refused to believe that our only chance of not becoming monsters ourselves was to forgive our monsters? Didn't you understand the shame we would carry from generation to generation as we keep tending to the sanctification of white folks, of cisgender folks, of straight folks, of rich folks? Didn't you know? Forgive who? Forgive what? No. Jesus, I forgive you. I forgive you for not choosing yourself, even on your deathbed. I forgive me. I forgive myself for giving up on my rage. I forgive us. I forgive us for trading our righteous demands for pampering prayers. I forgive us for going high all the damn time, making it so much easier for them to cut off our legs. I forgive us for forgiving only because we knew that it would protect us from the wrath of white people who hate uppity, self-possessed Black folks who refuse to wear those masks that grin and lie. I forgive us, for we didn't know what we were doing.
This is my letter to the one who did not ask to be remembered. I've always wondered what was on the mind of the people hanging alongside Jesus. I have decided not to call them criminals because we know systems like to label us based on what we've done, a tactic used to disregard our humanity and therefore justify whatever cruel, unusual, harsh, and usually unnecessary punishment it chooses to enact upon us. We still see that kind of treatment today, don't we? When someone does something, especially if that someone is Black or Indigenous or another person of color, they are immediately labeled as criminal, as thug, as welfare queen, as degenerate. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So sibling, today I am choosing not to call you what has happened to you, not to call you what you have done, and instead acknowledge your humanity. And my letter is because I wonder what you were thinking as you were hanging there alongside Jesus. Now listen, I know we get a glimpse into the conversation because the text tells us that you asked Jesus to save himself and the two of you, a statement that is often viewed as something that needs to be rebuked. They say, you said, aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and save us too. They say it was blasphemous. I don't. Beloved, I am not so quick to cast judgment. It's what I call this mix of uncertainty with a dash of hope. It's that feeling that you get when you feel defeat is here, but maybe, just maybe something can happen that can change your situation. Save yourself and save us too if you are able. And quite frankly, I can relate because I have been stuck in situations and have said to God, but aren't you a way maker? Then make a way for me too. And while you're at it, for all the people who are having challenges in life, aren't you a healer? Then heal me too and heal all of those who are living with physical and mental and emotional and spiritual pain. I mean, if you can do something, right now would be a good time. Is this not the way we sometimes pray the scripture back to God when we are caught in a situation, or perhaps caught in a situation that we've caused, or perhaps something that a system has done to us, but the consequences far outweigh what we've done and are capable of fixing ourselves, making a request with uncertainty? I mean, I have been let down before with a dash of hope. If you can save me, now would be a good time. It's something that I'm quite familiar with. And let's be clear, I don't know what you've done, but based on what I understand about state-sanctioned violence, whatever the deed, your death is an unreasonable payment. I wonder what you were thinking when your partner on the other side of Jesus says, what they say we did, we did. I wonder if you thought, do you believe that what we have done was deserving of such harsh punishment? Had your partner felt so defeated by the system and by life that they believed that whatever punishment this system that is cruel handed out to them was deserved? I don't. Or were you like, yeah, I know what we did, but do we deserve to die because of it? I wonder if this is a case of a system creating impossible circumstances for you to live in and then punishing you for trying to make a way for yourself. I wonder if this is a case of a system that looks at you as a threat and then sets up obstacles to you living well. I said this was a letter to you. And here's the piece that I really want you to get. I know Jesus remembered your partner because, like many church folk, they knew exactly what to say. They had the right words. Jesus, when you come into your kingdom, remember me. But I really do hope Jesus remembered you too. Just like I hope Jesus remembers all of us who are inhumanely and often unfairly punished by a system that makes it impossible for us to thrive. I know Jesus remembered your partner, but I hope Jesus remembered you too. Just like I hope Jesus remembers all of us that have been beat up and worn down by these systems, and all we have left is a mixture of uncertainty with a dash of hope. I know Jesus remembered your partner, but I hope Jesus remembers you too. Just like I hope Jesus remembers those of us who have to do things that we aren't proud of just to get by. I know Jesus remembered your partner, but I hope Jesus remembers you too. And I know in the text it doesn't tell us that you ask to be remembered. But as a death doula, I have learned that one of the things that people are concerned about at the end of life is whether or not they mattered to anyone, is whether or not their life mattered, whether or not they will be remembered fondly by anyone. So to you, to the one who did not ask to be remembered, I remember you. And I believe Jesus does too.
More swords in a fight, and my heart's never been so broken. I feel so cold in the night, no warmth, and I might tell God that I need more coping. I don't need drugs, and I don't need poison. I just need love, and I just need hope, and I just need faith. Every step that I take is centered in you, cause your door stays open. This time it's me that needs attention. It's me that's feeling sick. This time I need an intervention. Not seeking you to make me rich, just need your favor, Savior. I plead in prayer, I need your presence. I need to make it. So many loved ones see suicide, but everyone here knows that you can save them. God, please, Lord, please save us from ourselves. So many are sinking in quicksand. That many are seeking for your help. We can sit here and make plans, but what are our plans without yourself? Let go of your hate, friend. That hate ain't harming no one else. Keep your birthright, cease the jealousy and vengeance. Keep the peace and feel his presence. Don't you know you've been selected? Yeah, you heard right, trust in God and see his hands in every step that you were stepping. Before you start, just know it ended. You can feel lost and still be chosen. You can be tough and feel emotion. You can have faith and still need signs. You can have words and still need mine. This that Paul letter, this that David song. This that God bless us. A brand new sing-along. Let's go.
There's so many people lost up in this world. They don't see the truth.
Please support our channel by subscribing to DaSaintMedia and consider giving via Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal.
What up, Ma? I know you're not used to seeing me like this, but I'm good though. No, for real, I'm alright. Yeah, it hurts a lot. My arms are tired. It's difficult to breathe, but I gotta do it. Remember when I was 12 and we got separated in the temple and you and Pop came back and y'all was so mad, and I was like, I gotta do my father's work, and y'all kind of acted like y'all knew, like y'all understood, but I know you didn't. This is what I was talking about. Everything I'm going through now, it's all for the salvation of humanity that I was mentioning. No, Ma, no. I'm not going to ask the angels to rescue me. Ma, no, I'm not going to use my power to come down. I got to do this. Ma, no, don't go yelling at the soldiers. They're just doing their jobs. No, Ma, don't go back to the council. They won't listen to you. Or worse, they'll find a way to ostracize you or kill you. I know you want to do something, but it's okay. I'm okay. John, bro, I love you, man. I need you to know that. I love you, bro. You've been like family to me, and you've always had my back. I appreciate that. I know this isn't easy for you to watch, but like I was telling Ma, I gotta do this. Everything I've told you, and Peter, and James, and Matthew, and Bartholomew, and the rest, everything I've been telling y'all all comes down to this moment right now. Ma, look at me. This is your son now. John, this is your mom. Trust him, Ma. Trust me. Care for each other. You are each other's responsibility. Ma, I know he can't replace me. I don't want him to. I want him to look after you since I can't anymore. Since Pop died, I've been the one caring for you. Now he will. Ma, treat him like you treated me, with love and compassion, justice. John, treat her like you treated me, with humility and reverence and love. Bro, just take care of her. Watch over her. She can be a bit stubborn sometimes, but you know how mothers are. I trust you, bro. And if my siblings have anything to say, just tell them I told you this. Tell the bros that I love them, and that they will see me again. This isn't the end. It really is just the beginning. I know that's hard to believe. I know that's difficult to understand. But trust me, you will understand it soon. Ma, I will save my breath. I will save my breath. I just want you to know I love you. And I love you, Aunt Mary. And you too, Em. I love all of you. That's why I gotta do this.
This is a heart cry of pain and agony. These are the words of one who knows what it is like to be innocent and tried, to be executed as a criminal, to be lynched, attacked, devoured, scapegoated by a society committed to misunderstanding. His outcry is the culminating effects of one who lived a full life of invisibility. By his cries, Jesus puts himself squarely in the experience of one who knows what it's like to live in poverty that you did not ask for, what it's like to flee your country and cross a border. He knows the experience of sometimes it really be your own people standing against you. He understands being part of a community that regularly contributes to a land that in turn strips away your rights and dignity and autonomy. Jesus is well acquainted with the Black woman who is condemned before she ever utters a word. Before she ever speaks, she is already statistically more likely to not be enough, not pretty enough, not smart enough. She's not articulate enough, but she's also too articulate. She's not educated enough, but she's also too educated. She's not skinny enough, and she's shaking her ass way too much, but it's also not thick enough. She's too this, she's too that. She's laboring for the whole world, but nobody's laboring for her. Everybody celebrates how much she can do for them, even when it's killing her. Jesus knows the cries of the queer kids who can no longer come out safely to their teachers. He knows the agony of trans people having their medical care stripped away, and drag queens that are just trying to wear it out on the dance floor. He understands the directed hate at sex workers and drug users and the mamas without bail money. He knows what it's like, and he cries out. He understands what it's like to be on the receiving end of other people's bigotry, to have laws and rulers stacked against you, to have your history taken out of schools, to have your history erased. Jesus cries out because of the culminating effects of always feeling like you've got something to prove. I've got to prove that I'm Black enough, even though I went to that white school. I've got to prove that I'm queer enough, even though y'all all saw me dating a man just last year. I've got to prove always that I'm not too scary, I'm not too intimidating, I'm not too angry. Everywhere we go, our bodies poured out like a drink offering, and all our bones out of joint. The world throwing us around like we are a poison. Jesus cries out because after 30-some years, he is done. He's tired, and he's sick and tired of being sick and tired. Jesus cries out because he is too intimately familiar with a life of intersecting oppression, a life against the backdrop of sexism and racism and xenophobia and queerphobia and poverty. Jesus, our man of sorrows. My God, why have you forsaken me? Forsaken us, forsaken our community, forsaken our people. Jesus cries out because he knows that sometimes it's not just people who disappoint you. Sometimes it is God. Jesus knows the pain of putting your trust in God's promises and coming up empty. He knows what it's like to wrestle God into a blessing, to grab God by the collar and say, you promised me. Now why would God turn her back? And why would God sit idly and watch? There is no answer to this, no answer to any of our suffering. But one thing I know about Jesus' cry, he knows that pain demands to be felt. It demands to be loud, to be open, to be heard, to be inconvenient, to not care who is around to hear it. For many people, the thought of God weeping can make us nervous, but I'm not sure that a God who cannot feel can be trusted. Because I don't need just a resurrected Savior. I need a God who knows what it's like to bleed.
It's Yani, baby. Just a few things I learned along the way. Listen.
Sophisticated synonyms, they all mean the same thing. I'm walking around married to that game, no wedding ring. Cause the pursuit of my nappiness is bringing me happiness. Found my grandma's kinks in the sink and it linked to exactly this. I was raised as a conservative, I busted through the wall. Made in China, just a reminder, ain't no jobs here for y'all. They rather pay 12 over my 12.55. So I rake pennies from the corporation trying to stay alive. They belittle our little ones, ain't no hope for our little sons. Shut the system down before they give my little man's a little gun. G.I. Joe, no, or the ones with the water. Make him the lamb that was slain, next they come for your daughter. Tell her skin is too dark, her butt is too wide. They blackmail your black tail with a little white lie. So they try feeding me lies, I told them to shut up. They told me if I don't listen, I'm looking like what's up. Let's keep it real, you making all of that stuff up. So when they gave me the middle finger, I gave them the thumbs up. They tried feeding me lies and I told them to shut up. They told me if I don't listen, I'm looking like what's up. Let's keep it real, you making all of that stuff up. So when they gave me the middle finger, I gave them the thumbs up. Cause if you're red, you're dead. If you're yellow, stay mellow. Painful to green with the foundation that's as soft as jello. They sunk our battleships with whips and lips, painted with grease, rank smell, gotta resist that. So when it's time to spread peace, I'ma give them a piece. But when it's time to defend what's mine, I'm grabbing a piece. See, I gave them the piece. I said, show me your leak. So I got proof that you mean what you say, you come in this piece. They said that I'm the cause for conceit, it's time to release all of the vanity, cause insanity, cease and desist. When the madness persists, I'ma show them the list of all the innocent lies they took and show them I'm pissed. They tried feeding me lies, I told them to shut up. They told me if I don't listen, I'm looking like what's up. Let's keep it real, you making all of that stuff up. So when they gave me the middle finger, I gave them the thumbs up. They tried feeding me lies and I told them to shut up. They told me if I don't listen, I'm looking like what's up. Let's keep it real, you making all of that stuff up. So when they gave me the middle finger, I gave them the thumbs up.
Here we are on this Shady Friday, the day where Jesus' so-called friends have betrayed him, denied him, and flat out lied on him. In this text, we see Jesus finally nailed on the cross for being a radical truth teller, an unapologetically black man who spoke out against government treatment of marginalized persons during biblical antiquity. Jesus was a person who had healed the blind, those with mental health issues, such as speaking to the man with legions. And he stood up for women who were considered adulterers. He was a black man who called out men for violent behavior of wanting to stone a woman, but was willing to ask his accusers, her accusers, where is the man? Jesus was not afraid to use his mouth to speak out against the injustices of this world, and make no mistake about it, his death was as shady as it comes. His enemies plotted against him, and they were able to succeed in nailing him on the cross. What seemed like a glorified yet gruesome victory seemed to turn as Jesus takes the power from his enemies and places the power back in his hands. This is why I preach Jesus, because looking at Jesus' life, there is a valuable lesson to learn. Jesus takes the power from his enemies, celebrating his death by taking the time to celebrate his own life. Jesus does something completely paradoxical in the moment and screams out, I am thirsty. Jesus takes a moment to sip on some wine and celebrate his life by saying, I thirst. Now, preacher, why do you say this is a point of celebration? Well, there are several reasons I've come to that conclusion. Scholar believes that Jesus said this because he was fulfilling scripture, which is in Psalm 69:27. It says, they gave me poison for food, and for my thirst, they gave me vinegar to drink. And even in the beginning of the verses, this verse, Jesus said, when Jesus knew his time has come. So Jesus is aware that his life purpose is being fulfilled. What I've heard throughout the years is Jesus was beaten to exhaustion, so therefore he was thirsty. I'm not here to debate this, but what I am here to do is to make this text applicable to today's context for the hope of others. And in the midst of this shady day, Jesus takes the opportunity to be shady back. And if I can take my point of privilege as a queer woman and scholar, Jesus turns and take a drink on his enemies. I don't know about any of you, but nothing screams shady like when your enemy thinks that they got you on a rope, when they think that you're about to give up and throw in a towel, you come back in the office with a smile on your face. When you know your enemies might have mocked or laughed at you because of that relationship that failed, and you said it will work out. When they heard the news of its failure, they thought this surely would knock you off your feet. When you find out that you was even sleeping with the enemy and they were plotting and scheming to destroy your reputation, nothing screams shady like when Caitlin of Iowa did the "you can't see me" hand and in her opponent, and she was celebrated for being a champion. But when Angela Reese from LSU decided to give Caitlin a test of her own shady medicine, she is now being called unprofessional. What I know for sure is that this life can be shady, and you will have some shady days, and you will come in contact with some shady people. It is on these days that I thirst the most. It is on these days that I find myself enticed by a thirst trap. When I look at how long it has taken the judicial system to indict Trump, I find myself thirsty for democracy, to be really about the people and not about capitalism and whiteness. When I see the highest court rule that abortion is illegal, and I hear the religious rights make it about the death of a fetus versus the survival of a mother who probably can't afford the baby, who is left to raise the baby on her own, who may have experienced a rape by her father, uncle, or brother, who may have to face this alone at the age of 10 and 12. I thirst for liberation, for women being able to decide what's best for them. When Uganda is attempting to make it illegal to claim your truth and your sexuality identity as an adult, as a human who should be able to do what they want in the comfort of their home as long as it's not hurting anyone else, I thirst for liberation. When Black and brown people experiencing hardship and injustice all over the world, I thirst for liberation. And not only do I thirst for liberation, but I also thirst to be shady. In my generation, there were 3 shady queens I know: Whitney, Prince, and Patti LaBelle. My favorite of these 3 is Whitney. Whitney was sitting down doing an interview with CBS in the 90s, and the interviewer asked her if she was in the wrong business. Not only was it a shady question to ask the greatest singer of all time if she was in the wrong business, but what I like about Whitney is that she took the opportunity to throw some shade back. Whitney said, I'm not in the wrong business, just around the wrong people. The interviewer said, well, what do you do about that? And Whitney said, nothing you can do about it. The only thing you can do about it is sing on them. It is here where I conclude that Jesus wasn't in the wrong business. He was just surrounded by the wrong people. There was nothing Jesus could do to control being betrayed. Instead, Jesus took a drink on them. And I came here to encourage you today. And stop by, take a sip, be encouraged, and take a drink on them.
OMG. What's good about Good Friday? Before you give me your theological claims, can we acknowledge the injustice of an innocent man slain? The colored carpenter from Nazareth, the one that raised up Lazarus, the one who came to set the captive free, whose arms are now stretched between the cross and the lynching tree. We have the nerve to say, Mary, don't you weep, but not the grace or compassion to comfort her as she grieves. OMG. What's good about Good Friday? I will invite you to not rush to the joy and redemption of the resurrection without first acknowledging and dealing with the suffering, the trauma, and the sorrow of the resurrection. Jesus, his mother, his friends, those who followed his ministry, they witnessed trumped up charges by the Roman Empire and religious authorities. They saw Jesus getting beat by the authorities of the day. Now they find themselves standing horrified and helpless at Jesus's public execution. How they must have felt to hear Jesus utter the words, "It is finished." Even today, we still have this need for criminal justice reform. OMG, what's good about Good Friday? In many of our communities, including the religious, faith-based ones, we still have this need for love and inclusion to not just be preached, but also practiced. We still have mothers and fathers weeping the 7 last words of unarmed Black civilians. OMG, what's good about Good Friday? Trayvon Martin, he said, "Why are you following me?" Kenneth Chamberlain, "Officer, why do you have your guns out?" Renisha McBride, "I want to go home." Michael Brown, "I don't have a gun. Stop." Oscar Grant, "You shot me. You shot me." Chantel Davis, "I don't want to die." Eric Garner, "I can't breathe." John Elliott, "I can't breathe." Manuel Ellis, "I can't breathe." George Floyd, "I can't breathe." Jesus breathed his last breath and said, "It is finished." We have to deal with the injustice and the pain of the crucifixion so that we are not just so heavenly minded that we are no earthly good, but that we are so heavenly minded that like Christ, we do all the good we can in all the ways we can in all the places we can as long ever we can. Jesus didn't just die for our sins. He died for speaking truth to power. He died for empowering the disenfranchised. He died for challenging the powers that be to see all the people and not just the traditions and laws of a select few. He was the living word. His justifying grace on Calvary made way for humanity to experience God's sanctifying grace moving forward. They thought they disrupted a movement, but they didn't account for God's universal plan. The hymn writer, they put it this way, that there's power in the blood. Fred Hampton of the Black Panther Party said, "You can kill the revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution." And Jesus, the unarmed Black man on Calvary, said, "It is finished." So before we jump to the joy of Resurrection Sunday, let's sit with the silence of Saturday and the sorrow of the crucifixion. Understand that the journey continues and that we shouldn't just take people to the cross, but we should stay a while and be willing to deal with the tension in the midst of the grief and the trauma. As we listen with compassion, the heartbeat of a hurting world that is now transitioning towards redemption. OMG. What's good about Good Friday?
I want to speak from the topic very briefly. I'm out. Jesus' life of ministry placed him in a position to die a good death. Now, hear me out. I know some of you may say, "Kyndra, how did Jesus die a good death?" He was on the cross for 6 hours in public, uncomfortable, ridiculed, mocked, suffering, and bloody. How did he die a good death? I would argue that Jesus died a good death because he lived a good life. A life to be written about and documented for decades to come and translated into diverse languages. A life that incites theological debate and is the way shower for life and life more abundantly. Jesus' life breathed life into death, turned water into wine, invited Peter to walk on water, gave sight to the blind, healed Jairus' daughter and the woman with the issue of blood, cast out demons, and this list is not exhaustive. Jesus did his good work while he was in the land of the living. Jesus did such good work that he placed his life in God's hands and with his last breath said, "I'm out. Deuces, my work is done. It is finished. I have completed my purpose planned, which I promised before I showed up on the planet. I'm out." I believe Jesus was so clear about his actualization of self in the world that his "I'm out" was not an exasperated giving up, but a giving of himself outwardly to the one he trusted. For many of us, our "I'm out" is connected to things not going the way that we plan. Our "I'm out" is connected to not getting our way. Our "I'm out" is connected to not receiving the external validation that you desire from others. Jesus' "I'm out" was connected to a clarity that he had done all that he could do to live the life that he was created to live. Your I'm out has not yet arrived, friends, so stop being out before the miracle arrives, before the provision comes, and before the resource is given. This is it. This is the word. This is the piece. And I won't be before you long after this, but there are too many of you entrusting your life into hands that are not trustworthy. You're entrusting your life to people who don't understand the validity of the unique version of you, nor are they clear about the purpose placed in you to help prosper the generations that are to come after you and the generations before you now. You keep entrusting your life into the wrong hands because you can't trust your own hands, which God has been continuing to undergird all along. When will you learn to trust yourself? The last time I checked, you are I am, and the I am is you. I am the I am. There are too many of you giving up out of exasperation, and you have not yet begun to scratch the surface of living a good life. What does it mean for you to live a good life? Jesus died a good death because Jesus lived a good life. Jesus died a good death because he committed to living life and life more abundantly and extended an invitation for us to do the same. Jesus earned his I'm out and entrusted his life to the right source. Let us all work with vigor, intention, and passion to earn the right to be out. Now go and live life, and live your life more abundantly. Choose to live a good life so you can die a good death.
I know I've been changed. I know I've been changed. I know I've been changed. Angels in heaven done sign my name. If you don't believe that I've been redeemed, angels in heaven done sign my name. Follow me down to the Jordan stream. Angels in heaven done sign my name. I stepped in the water was cold. Angels in heaven done sign my name. Chill my body, not my soul. Angels in heaven done sign my name. I know I've been changed. I know I've been changed. Said I know I've been changed. Angels in heaven sign my name. I say that
My God on today, my God is so dope, dope, dope. My God on today, my God is dealing hope, hope, hope. My God on today, my God is so dope, dope, dope. My God on today, my God is dealing hope, hope, hope. My God on today, my God is so dope.